All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Overshadowed. I think that we're going to start uploading these clips as separate videos and not just upload it all as one big block. But of course, there's been no shortage of news. We have basically two main things, of course, the TikTok ban and the meltdown that's been happening throughout that. And then we also have the Israel and Hamas ceasefire deal being kind of official now and what that really means. So there hasn't been like all these different events, it's just been more of these two huge blocks. But it's been insanely interesting. So Trump's inauguration is tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure it's actually been moved inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was moved inside because it's so cold. But Colin doesn't have time to come here, so I was planning on maybe doing this today, but I'm gonna do a solo show, kind of reacting tomorrow, reacting to Trump's inauguration speech, how it compares to, of course, American carnage in 2017 and the events following that. But I think we should just start here with the TikTok ban. So, of course, I think we've talked about this like 2 or 3 times already on this show, but it kind of became official last night. I think around, I don't think even midnight it was. I think it was around 10 o'clock. I don't know exactly when it was. But so at first, I want to kind of break all these events down. So at first, of course, the Supreme Court had decided not to issue a decision on the TikTok ban. But on the 17th of January, of course, the Supreme Court surprised everyone by issuing a unanimous decision upholding the law. And so a little bit before that, there was all this talk like, oh, maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, and people were thinking about buying it, and then Mr. Beast was actually thinking about buying it. So I kind of have a clip of that here. This was really interesting. I'll put this up.
Just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer ready for you. We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save this platform, TikTok.
So, of course, this isn't like really totally realistic. He probably wouldn't be able to buy TikTok. He said he was in a meeting with a bunch of other billionaires, like Mr. Beast is a billionaire, which honestly I don't really think he is. But I mean, like it was the entire. I mean, we've talked about this before, but the entirety of this, I think it's 170 million people that use this platform have just been reacting like crazy to this. So I think on the 17th, after the Supreme Court's decision, I have to. All right. So TikTok issued this statement after the Supreme Court issued their decision, stating the statements issued today by both the Biden White House and the Department of Justice have failed to provide the necessary clarity and assurance to the service providers that are integral to maintaining TikTok's availability to over 170 million Americans. So I was right about that number. So unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers assuring non-enforcement, unfortunately TikTok will be forced to go dark on January 19th. So basically that's kind of like a convoluted statement, but effectively what that means is that TikTok would be forced to shut itself down if the Biden White House didn't issue a statement saying that it would not enforce this at all, which of course Biden sort of left it to Trump, but also didn't totally state that he would enforce it. So TikTok actually, of course, did shut down last night for a couple of hours, and then Donald Trump actually basically stated that he would save it. So he made a post on Truth Social. Here, I have this. So this was, yesterday at 8 o'clock. This was today at around about in the morning. So he said, I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect. so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped TikTok from going dark before my order. Americans deserve to see our exciting inauguration on Monday, as well as other events and conversations. I would like the United States to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up, probably meant stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok. With our approval, it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. Therefore, my initial thought is a joint venture between the current owners and or new owners, whereby the U.S. gets a 50% ownership in a joint venture set up between the U.S. and whichever purchase we so choose. So basically, the big overarching part of this is him stating that he would kind of save this. Of course, with an executive order, he can't just completely get rid of the bill. He would need to go through Congress to do that. But he could just keep extending it and delay its ban over and over again. So after this, TikTok issued this statement here. So they said on Twitter, in agreement with our service providers, TikTok is in the process of restoring service. We thank President Trump for providing the necessary clarity and assurance to our service providers that they will face no penalties, providing TikTok to over 170 million Americans and allowing over 7 million small businesses to thrive. It's a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. We will work with President Trump on a long-term solution that keeps TikTok in the United States. So, of course, just like Trump was the original person that took TikTok down, and now he's kind of the guy that's saving it. I remember in 2020 when this is happening. Was it like in 2019 or 2020?
I think it was.
I think it was in late 2020, right? Yeah, late 2020. I've always been sort of an activist for this. I've always thought that we need to take this down, and look, there's small businesses on there. There's, of course, pro-Palestine speech, which I think is some of the reason why it did get through the House. But the overarching image of this, as I've said 1,000 times here, is that this is a threat to our national security and that we do need to take it down. So I actually want to show Trump speaking in Arizona now. This is a clip of him speaking at a Turning Point USA rally, I'm pretty sure, but here I can...
So I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. I think we're going to have to start thinking. Because, we did go on TikTok, and we had a great response with billions of views, billions and billions of views. They brought me a chart, and it was a record, and it was so beautiful to see. And as I looked at it, I said, maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while.
So the random guy on Twitter that was there, that was the person that I got that from. So credit to that guy that was there. But this also kind of shows why he's not choosing to ban it. It might not even really be because he got bribed to do it. That might be sort of the reason, but it kind of is because he was so popular on TikTok. This guy amassed a huge following, and he talked about in his Truth Social post, he was talking about the American people deserving to see his inauguration, which undoubtedly would be posted everywhere on TikTok. So really the overarching reason why he's deciding not to really pull the trigger on this is more because of his own ego and his own narcissism around the app and how he feels it personally benefits him. And so I want to kind of hear what you think about this, finally. What do you think about, why do you think Trump is doing this?
So, it's tough. I think what he's doing, I can see how people could not like it, but also like it. It does seem kind of smart. Give them more of a transition period, and give them time or whatever. I do like the idea of the United States having a 50% ownership. That way they can balance it and keep our national security without having to receive criticism about the First Amendment. I think it definitely sets a precedent. I wonder what will happen. It'll be very interesting to see because it's a very fine line between, again, national security and the First Amendment. So will more platforms, social platforms, start to get taken down that are by like Chinese companies or stuff like that? It'll be really interesting to see.
I'm pretty sure the CapCut did get taken down in like Marvel Snap or something. This app, that like some random card game got taken down, and as a part of this bill as well. So the actual bill doesn't really. The bill isn't just banning TikTok; it's banning TikTok and also kind of giving the president the ability, granting the president the ability to get rid of an app with like a month's notice that is affiliated with, I think, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and of course China. So the First Amendment argument really, like, it doesn't really apply to TikTok. I mean, of course, there's different versions of TikTok between China and the U.S., but that's kind of the argument that TikTok has tried to make, that they kind of apply to the First Amendment, but the First Amendment doesn't apply to like it doesn't apply to like foreign nations and spreading stuff inside of our country. And this is, I mean, it's, of course, like I just said, it's different, but it's not really. I mean, we've seen the amount of data that this is collecting, and of course, Facebook and Meta and basically all these companies have been stealing our data for a while, but it's pretty different when it's a foreign nation doing it and not us. So, and there's also the argument, which is the small business argument, which I think definitely, if there was an argument that I had to believe, I would probably stick with that one, because of course there are a ton of small businesses that do use TikTok to spread their stuff. I actually have a clip right here from this news agency in Oklahoma talking to business owners there about the ban and how it affect them. So I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit here, so just bear with me, but I'll pull this up now.
We are days away from
new sea salt and vinegar seasoning.
Pediano's Kitchen, a small Oklahoma business, relies on TikTok.
Without TikTok, our business would not exist. TikTok is the reason we are here. That is our main primary source of income.
CEO Peyton Ferguson tells me TikTok's unique shopping feature allows him to sell products directly through videos, something he says other platforms can't replicate.
The next push is trying to figure out a retail space, which we're continuing to grow in retail. But without the income coming from TikTok, that's going to be extremely challenging. It would likely be insurmountable. So likely, a TikTok ban would result in our small business closing.
Emily Phillip.
So, I mean, if you look at this guy's like very adamant about the fact that there's no path on like Instagram, or he doesn't really talk about other platforms, but he says that if TikTok goes away, he will definitively go out of business. Which, of course, like I said, if there was any reason that I had to disagree with this ban, it would likely be because of that. But I just really think, like, that honestly sucks. I don't have the same view about it, about these billion-dollar companies and feeling bad about them. I mean, these people have worked hard, and this is obviously a thing that's very important to them, and these small businesses going out of business would be very bad, not only for our economy, but for the livelihoods of these people. But I really just think, like, this is, like I've said time and time again, if your business is based off of something that is violating our national security, that should, by definition, not exist. And it's really sad, but I really think that has to be the message that we get from this. So, like, what do you think about the business argument?
I mean, the business argument, yeah, it's interesting. I definitely do agree if it's violating our national security. But, like, I don't really, like, again, like you're saying, like, why would you base your whole business off of a foreign-run Chinese video sharing company? It just, in my mind, it doesn't make that much sense. Like, why wouldn't you? And I do feel like he's definitely exaggerating. They can definitely transition to like
Yeah.
YouTube or other things like that. So I mean, I don't think it'll certainly have an impact, but I think what's interesting is like, what do you do if you're TikTok? Like, do you sell it, like, or do you just let it be banned? And then Trump is right, like your net worth of TikTok will go down tremendously after it's been banned, because like who else is really using TikTok except for Europe if it's banned?
Yeah, well, on the exaggeration thing, I guess I really never thought about it like that. I think that in that same video from that Oklahoma news agency, they talk to some other people who talk about them advertising on Instagram Reels and, I don't know, like YouTube Shorts or whatever for the 5 people that use that. But, I mean, of course, there's definitely a big reason to base your business off of this Chinese video sharing company, in that it's like the most popular social media in the entire nation. So I can definitely see why you would do that. But to not, I mean, this has been going on for like 5 years now. It was, or four years really.
Mm-hmm.
Late 2020 was when this started happening, and people really haven't ever thought about this getting banned and branched out to other parts of the internet. I kind of can like see that, you know, I never really thought about it that way. But at the same time, I guess he does talk about how unique TikTok is, the guy in that video. He talks about how unique TikTok is and that this can't really happen on other social media websites. So, I mean, like, yeah, I still feel bad for them, but thinking about it that way kind of gives me a different perspective in that it's been going on for so long, and yeah, you should have prepared for this. I mean, you should have gotten ready for this, and you should be knowledgeable of the fact that this certainly could happen. And at least now you should, because this is a real shock. And of course, like, how realistic is it that Trump is going to be able to completely save TikTok? I don't know how realistic it really is, because he can delay it through executive orders and whatever, but there were a lot of people that voted for this in Congress. I mean, of course, in my opinion, it kind of got over the line because of, like, I'll kind of provide the case of where it does get saved. Because, in my opinion, one of the reasons why the bill got past the finish line, was because of the many mostly Republican people in Congress, but also many Democrats, like, and you know, in the Senate, like your John Fettermans, your Dinos, your Democrats in name only, but it's got along because they were so dissatisfied with the amount of pro-Palestine speech that was going on now, and now, of course, of what we're going to talk about here now, of course, the genocide that people were speaking out against, or the supposed genocide that these people were saying that they didn't agree with, it's kind of like over now. I mean, they've already killed however many people, 40,000 plus, 20,000 plus, if you don't believe in Hamas's quote-unquote numbers. But, like, it's kind of over now. The situation could flare back up. Of course, we're going to talk about this in our next segment. It could flare back up, but there's a high possibility that this is over now, that this doesn't need to happen anymore. And also, Trump is such a unifying figure, or should I say like a controlling figure, inside of the GOP with such a tight-knit grip on the Republican Party that he could honestly just like force this back. But I don't really know the motivation that Trump has to do that. It's one thing to simply issue an executive order to delay something happening, and it's another thing to spend a large part of your presidency just to do something for your publicity. And I don't know how far Trump's narcissism will take him in that regard. So yeah, that's really the last that I have to say on that really crazy situation. One last thing that I do want to say is, I remember going to school on the 17th on Friday, and it was just, like, I remember reading the New York Times on the bus, and reading that Supreme Court, the Supreme Court decided that TikTok would be banned effectively, or to uphold the law. I just remember thinking, like, this has been going on for so long, and it was really crazy. It was a surreal moment, and I really hope that, I mean, can Trump really just not let us down on this one promise? Like, he's let us down on plenty of promises before. Can he please just let us down on this one? Because I really think that he should. I hope that he doesn't save TikTok. This app is a huge risk to us, and I think it needs to be banned. But if there's nothing else you have to say, then I'm done with that.